All right, guys, we're back with the latest episode of the Envision show. Today we have a very special guest, my longtime friend, Joe Novelli. Joe, if you want to introduce yourself.
Yeah, sure. What's up, guys? I'm Joe. Thank you for having me on the show. I appreciate it. I've been in the copywriting business for a little while, a little over a year, you know what I'm saying? So here to spit some game for you guys if you guys have any questions.
All right, sweet. Started off a little bit. So you said copywriting. Can you explain exactly what that is?
Yeah, man. So basically, any social media type postings or anything you guys see, or like if you go on someone's website and you see all the posts, you see all the descriptions and everything, I do stuff like that. Like I basically create websites for people and I create the content that's within the websites for people.
So if you don't mind me asking, how did you get into all that? What made you want to do it too?
Yeah, man. So basically, you guys know who Andrew Tate is, right?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So a lot of people didn't really
Boy.
like him, but at the same time, he had this app come out for $50. It was the Real World. So I was like, you know what? What's the worst that happens if I try it and it's a scam? You know, I lose $50. Like some people will go and spend $50 on McDonald's.
Right.
I was like, you know what? The return ratio on McDonald's is not very good. So I was like, you know what? Let me see if this is real. And if it's real, cool. I make a little bit of bread. But if not, I lose $50. So I tried it, and that shit is real. And that man basically set me up.
So he taught you how to actually do it, and then did he teach you how to get clients, or how'd you figure out how to start getting clients?
Yeah, man. So basically, he has a professor of his own. Shout out Andrew Bass. That man's the GOAT. He basically taught me everything within copywriting because the teachers that Tate has are self-made millionaires in that field.
Okay.
So Bass is a self-made millionaire in the copywriting field. So he basically was like, hey, this is how I did it. So I'm going to teach you guys how to do it and how to do it in the modern way.
Mm-hmm.
So once I learned that, he taught me everything from creating my own content to reaching out to people to getting clients, et cetera, et cetera.
Interesting.
And so how long ago was this?
You know, I started in January of 2022. Yeah.
And then how long till you got your first client?
I'm not gonna lie to you, it took me 6 months.
That sounds about right. Because I just know, thinking in my head, going from photography, where it's something that people are used to having people reach out for them for, know to reach out for people. How many people are looking for people to do their copywriting? And then with that, I feel like copywriting gets really undervalued. So how are you selling copywriting?
You know, basically when you reach out, you have to basically explain to them like, hey, I see there's a problem in this piece of your business. Okay. And I think that I am the best option for you, and this is why. But at the same time, you have to show them evidence. So the amount of, I won't lie, for about 6 months, I was giving out free stuff to people. I was like, hey, I see this problem with your business, whether it be a newsletter, your postings of videos, or just posts in general, you know, they're not producing enough traffic. Mm-hmm. Here is stuff for you to post. Now, a lot of people, they might just think that they're winning and they just take the stuff for free, which is the whole point. But some people will just take it and be like, I'm just not going to talk to him anymore. The only problem is I know how to fix your problem. You don't. So if you just take the free stuff, congratulations. Like, you're not going to win very much. You're going to win for a little bit. But then there's some people that take a chance on you, and then they're like, oh, this kid knows what he's doing. Mm-hmm. He has no portfolio. He hasn't worked for everybody, but he knows what he's doing. Yeah. I'll be the first to take a chance on him. It's always that first one. Once you get that first one, it's cake. But getting the first one, it took me a long time.
That makes sense. It's also better for them. You want them to take your free value, because then they start to go up, and then they fall harder and realize what they're missing. Exactly. If they don't take you at all, they don't realize what they're missing.
And then with the free value too, is like when you give them that, it kind of gives you the chance to test your own knowledge. Like be like, hey, I think this would work for that business. And then maybe it works for them. Good for you. Good for them. Maybe it doesn't. You're like, okay, that didn't work as well as I wanted it to. Let me try something else.
Exactly. You know, like, and plus the free value, because a lot of people, when they're in their own business, they put their guard up, man. Like, because there's a bunch of free people that like try to scam you or just like take your money from you. So the free value, it kind of like, they're like, okay, let me take a look at this. Let me see what happens. And then some people, they're jerks about it. But then the people that take a chance on you, they're like, okay, this kid knows what he's doing. Let's take a chance on him. And because initially up front, I don't really charge people money. I'm just like, you know what? Here, take my stuff. And then if they reject it, I'm like, okay, I don't look at them like, oh man, I hate you. I'm like, okay, what's wrong with what I did? Mm-hmm. And that's what some people struggle with. Like, they can't take accountability for why their stuff is not as good as they thought it was.
Yeah. How do you deal with rejection?
Basically, I just kind of take it and be like, you know what? Okay, why was I rejected? You know what I mean? Like, and then I'll go back into my group, because in that app, there's like 13,000 people in the copywriting section. Yeah. So I'll be like, hey guys, this got rejected. Can you guys help me out with this? And they're like, oh yeah, you missed this part, or this part was pretty trash, or just fix this. Sometimes it's little things. Sometimes they're like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah. Sometimes it's just burn the whole thing.
Yeah,
start
just
over.
just start from scratch. So you kind of just take it with a grain of salt, and then you just keep it pushing. Because for some people, some businesses might hate your stuff, but then you turn around and put their different company's spin on it, and then give it to someone else, and they think it's gold. So it like all depends on how good your stuff is, but also who you're giving it to. Because you can't just give the same stuff to different people, but at the same time, some people think that some stuff is great and some people think it's trash. So you just got to find out who likes it and who doesn't.
So how do you kind of do that? Because I know copywriting can be like super broad, and same thing, like I compare it to like kind of what we do, and then I do photography on my own. So kind of the way we get started is you kind of like go to your local cafe, you go to those local people, you do senior photos, things like that. How do you start finding clients? Are you starting to look at small businesses? Are you going big straight away, or how does that work?
It all depends on a lot of things. Like I personally went local first just to build up a portfolio before I tried to go fish for bigger guys. But some people I know, one of my good friends, he just jumped right into it. He was like, you know, I'm going to reach out to you because he has connections. That's the biggest thing. Connections are the biggest thing in the world. So he had connections into this very large company, and he reached out to them, and they were like, oh, we like your stuff. So instantly he was ahead of the curve. But for people who don't have those connections, I'm kind of like, you know what? Let me build up this profile, and then I'll reach out to you. Like, hey, I have all this stuff. You can see it. I am that guy. Take a look at it.
So you're not one of those people that's going around cold DMing people and kind of scamming them. You're talking to people that you already know and connecting that way. Okay.
Yeah. So I want to build up a small portfolio. And then once I have the portfolio, then I can start DMing people and being like, hey, I see this is what's wrong with you, but I know I can help you. Here's evidence that I can do it for you. And here's the free stuff.
Okay. So now what's your primary focus in copywriting?
So right now fortunately I work for a lot of large companies.
Okay. In a certain field?
Yeah. So I like to be in the hunting niche personally. It's just kind of like my thing. You know, I grew up doing it with my dad and stuff like that. So like I can connect with those business owners on a different level than just like if I went into the cigar company. I have no idea what I'm talking about with cigars, right? Like I don't do that stuff.
Right.
But with hunting, like I can, like there's certain verbiage and there's certain context that you can reach out to people and be like, hey, I know this stuff. I've worked with it since I was like 7. I've been doing this stuff since I was 7. But now I'm in this niche where I'm like, hey, I can help you because I personally like hunting and I know these people do too. So it's like, okay, I want to see you win, and here's how I can help you win. So I work with hunting, archery, and firearm companies.
Interesting. And then was a way that bridged between those small local companies, or did you get like one to start and then?
Yeah, I worked with a small archery company at first. I helped increase their profits, I want to say by like 50% in about a month. So it wasn't bad. Because that's when I figured out, oh, my stuff works. Like I'm starting to get good at this. And then I went to events like every weekend.
Okay.
Over the summer, I was grinding, and then finally I got a big company to say yes, and then they happened to be the largest in the world, so I was able to trickle down after that. I was like, you know what, let me go after the top 10. Let me see what happens. And then once they see, oh, he works with the largest one, he clearly knows what he's doing. So let's take a look and let's work with him too, because we want to get to that stage.
That's huge. How did you develop that mindset of just like, all right, how can I approach these larger companies?
It's kind of like sports. I'm not afraid to take the game-winning shot in basketball. I don't care if I miss. I don't care if I make it. So in a sense, I kind of took that and put it into business. I was kind of like, you know what? If I get rejected, whatever, I'm just going to go for someone else. It's like missing shots in basketball. It's the same thing. Someone says no to you, cool. I'm going to go to your competitor. Or I'm going to go to someone who's totally not involved with you, but they can get to your level.
Yeah.
So I just keep trying. Because eventually you internally grow, whether you get rejected or not. Because I'm going to keep growing, work, nothing works, but I've gotten better. Work, I've gotten better. And then the bubble pops. And then some people will be like, oh man, it's just overnight success. No, you didn't see all the rejections I got, man. You didn't see the hundreds of hours I was putting in a week. Like you just don't get it. So some people, they just think it's luck, but it's you internally growing before the bubble pops.
Exactly.
Oh, 100%.
I hate overnight success. Like, dude, it's never overnight success.
No, like you didn't see what I was doing behind closed doors.
Exactly.
You didn't see me working 40 hours on the weekends. You know what I mean? Like you didn't see me working 100-hour weeks over the summer when I was literally like, I have not made a dime and I'm still going to try this.
Well, that's the thing too, is like, you just have to keep trying. And I think that's the thing that most people struggle with is they just think that like the people that made it just made it because they're lucky. They didn't see the fact that like, oh, this person is 20 years old and they did X, Y, and Z. But it's like, all right, but that person trying to do X, Y, and Z since they were 15.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? People don't see that. And I think it's just something that like, I don't really know how to explain it. People just will never understand, you know, until you do it.
Yeah, man. Some people are just like the biggest thing for some people is they're afraid to fail because they're like, what happens if I fail?
Yep.
And they want to stick to something that is in their comfort box. But the people that have made it in life, they've gone outside the box. Even though no matter how uncomfortable they felt, they were like, let me just try this. And then their box grew. And then their box grew again. So they just kept trying and trying and trying. But the people that don't succeed, they're like, I failed once. I don't want to feel that again.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to stay where I am. I'm going to do something safe. So that way I don't have to feel that like rejection anymore.
Yeah.
Which is a big problem. But that's why very little people that are willing to take that chance happen to succeed.
Exactly. So going back in your life, so where did you kind of get that mentality from?
Basketball.
Basketball.
100%.
All right. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So in high school, I wasn't too bad. You can ask him. I wasn't too bad at basketball.
He
But
dunked on me a couple times.
I've gotten cussed out by a ton of coaches.
Sweet.
I've gotten mostly my dad. He was a big ambassador in that stuff. Like he didn't really want to coddle me. A lot of coaches didn't want to coddle me. So I just made sure that whenever I was getting yelled at, I listened to what was being said, not how it was being said.
That's a huge skill.
So when business came, trust me, I've been on phone with people and they've been like, you have no idea what you're talking about. And I'm like, I won't listen to how they're saying it. I'm like, okay, so what do you mean by I don't know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And they're like, and then they'll like kind of like calm down and
It kind of freaks them out almost too.
Yeah, almost like,
they're like,
right?
hold on.
And they're like, whoa, you're not like just gonna hang up the phone on me?
Yeah.
They're like, okay, well, I don't like how you did this.
Yep.
And then you have an answer for it, and then they'll have a comeback for it, and then you go back to your group and you're like, hey, they said this, we had this conversation. What did I do wrong? Not what did he do wrong? It's what did I do wrong? Constantly, if you keep saying, because realistically, everything in your life that goes wrong is your fault. Is your fault. If you say it's your fault, you will 100% succeed. Because if you keep blaming it on other people, you will fail. Like you can't. You have to take accountability for it. So if you keep taking accountability for it, more people will be open and honest with you rather than, man, she said this and he said this. Then they'll be like, all right, I don't want to deal with this kid, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So if you're just 100% honest and you're like, what did I do wrong? They'll be like, okay, this kid actually wants to grow and learn from this. Let me tell him the truth.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense. And that's probably also why copywriting comes, it's not natural because you had to learn part of it, but why you're inclined to do that because you can communicate. Exactly. Because copywriting is just communicating to the customer. It's communicating between the customer and the company. And if you can do that, then that's how you unite them and that's how you make sales.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing I've learned is communication. Like let's say you're a 10 out of 10 genius,
Yeah.
but your communication skills are like a 3 out of 10. People are going to think that your IQ level or your intelligence level in that field is a 3 out of 10.
Yeah, exactly.
And then if you have 10 out of 10 communication skills, you can literally sell anything.
Yeah.
So it's like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what your knowledge is. Like personally, I recommend that, you should learn internally all the time. But like even if your knowledge is a 7, but your communications are a 10, they're like, wow, this guy really knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
I'm going to go for him instead of the genius who has no idea how to talk to people.
Yep.
Right.
That's
so that was
huge.
a big thing I had to learn.
You really need to learn how to like sell yourself. Now, I'm not talking about OnlyFans, but you really do need to learn just how to properly present yourself to people. And I think like that's been so big for me because like there's been a lot of times where like I walked into places and I'm just trying to talk to somebody and I know nothing about their business, but I know about like what I'm doing. And then basically the other thing too is people love talking about themselves, right? So when you go to somebody and like you originally ask them like, oh well, yeah, like what do you do? How did you get started? X, Y, and Z. That way you're learning about them and then they can also see that you're not just a good communicator, you're also a good listener. And then eventually after a while they'll be like, oh, like I'm talking about myself a lot, tell me about you. And then that's when you present your skills. And then that way you already have, even if you have no background knowledge about that topic, you could learn a lot just from them talking and then you just throw it right back at them. And then that's like the base part of like communication that I feel like a lot of people don't understand. Like I know nothing about hunting, but if you put me in a room with like the executives of the people that like run the hunting companies, I would learn a lot and then I'd probably pick up a couple numbers on the way. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And one of the biggest things I learned is if you do a little bit of research about that person and you try to connect with them on a deeper level, they will love you Because if you just come in with like a broad landscape of like, hey, you know, I know about your company, I know all these things you do, like blah 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 blah, they're gonna kind of like, okay, this guy kind of did some research, like good for you.
Yeah.
But at the same time, even if you have the communication ability and you can come in on a deeper level, they'll respect you even more, and they'll actually be like, okay, this guy actually took the time to learn about me personally and my business. Let me take the time to learn how well he is at what he does. So it really,
exactly. Because business isn't numbers; it's working with people. That's what people want to do, is work with people that they like, that they trust. And so if you can come in and connect with them, that's exactly what's happening.
Exactly.
Yeah. So going from, okay, so right now you have a full, or actually, hold on. So right now you said that you have not just the number one archery company, but now you have the top 10. So how'd you go from 1 to 10? Are you doing it all on your own?
No, I got a team.
Okay.
But at the beginning, yeah, I got the number one guy by myself.
Right.
And that was the hardest thing to do. But once I was able to make a little bit of profit, I had some people working for me, and now I'm able to teach them how to do it.
Okay.
And then I'm able to expand. And then they're able to reach out to some people for me. So like when I'm in school or I'm in practice and I'm not able to do it, I'm able to rely on them and trust them that they'll actually do as good of a job as I can do.
When did you know that you needed to expand, and how did that look like?
After I got the number 1 through 3.
Okay.
And then
it was just too much work?
Yeah. Because like a lot of people, like I was working in the summer 100-hour weeks. Like I was just like, I'm going to freaking figure this out, or I'm going to go bankrupt trying, right? You know what I mean? Like I'm going to either figure this out or I'm going to fail and try again. The same thing. And then once I started succeeding, I was like, ooh, I'm succeeding a little bit too much. I got to find some people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I got to find some people that, number one, I can't just find a random person.
Right.
I got to find someone, I don't care if they have no idea what they're talking about. They got to be able to want it as much as I do. If they want it as much as I do, I can hire them and just teach them the rest.
Yeah.
So that's number 1.
Exactly. Because like if you know 100% of what you're talking about, but you don't have my drive and you aren't willing to do what I'm willing to do, I don't want to talk to you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because then you're going to make me feel dumber. Because like I'm working my butt off, and then you're just like, you know, it's like 5 o'clock. Can I be done? And it's like, well, did you do the work? And they're like, well, no, but I'll get to it tomorrow. I would rather hire the guy that's like, yo, I'm going to be up till 4 a.m. and figure this out, even though I have no idea what I'm talking about, rather than that guy. Because like, if you just don't want it as much as me, I can't be around you.
Exactly. That's something we talk about all the time, because we always talk about with other people how before we met each other, there was like no other person that we saw work as hard as the other one. And you're another person that as soon as I met you, because I didn't know you before, it was like, oh, all right, he's on another level too. Where are you going looking for these people? Where can we find them?
So in the real world, I met a lot of these people.
Okay.
But it was really cool because then those people have friends that they might not be in the real world, but they're like, yo, this guy's a dog. Like he's willing to work like every single hour of every single day until the job gets done. So then I'll like talk to him. I'll kind of like feel him out. I'll be like, all right, where's your I know your drive is here.
Yeah.
But where is your level of like competence? Like, if I don't care if it's a 0, I'll teach you everything. But like, if I have a choice to pick someone who knows a little bit more, I'm probably gonna pick them. But like, as long as the drive's there, I don't care who you are. We will figure it out.
Well, that's the thing too. Is that like I think about this all the time. Is you can't teach work ethic. No matter like what you try to do, like. You can teach people all the knowledge in the world, but if they don't have the work ethic to, work, like, you can't teach them anything, right? Because then they're just like, all right, like, I'm here because I want to do this. When am I done, right? But when somebody just has that work ethic, it doesn't matter what time it is. It doesn't matter, like, what's going on. They're going to be there, and they're going to try to figure it out. So how did you... Did you always have that? Did you kind of have to figure that out along the way?
I kind of got it again from sports. Like I'm willing to be in the gym until I figure something out. Like if I mess up a ton of times in a game, I'm going to go back and I don't care if I'm in the gym till 2 a.m. I'm going to figure out what I did wrong and I'm going to fix it, work on my shot, whatever it is. I'm willing to put in the extra work to make sure that I am still better than you. Because I am constantly wanting to get better, because I take it as a challenge when I go up against someone else where it's like, okay, I'm going to prove I'm better than you, and I don't care how much more talented you are than me. I'm going to kick your ass. Right? So the same thing with here is I'm gonna figure out, I have no idea what I'm talking about in the beginning. Like when I was first learning this, I was like, yo, I feel so dumb. But I'm going to figure out how to develop, whether it's reading books, whether it's going online, whether it's talking to my mentors, whether it's talking to different people. I'm going to figure this out, and then I'm just going to beat you. And I don't care how much more you know about this than me. I'm going to beat you somehow, some way. I'm going to find a crack. I'm going to figure it out.
I think it's also pretty cool too. Like when you start learning about these things, like copywriting, for example, when you start learning copywriting, you just see it all around you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Whether you're like, oh, they use that and that's what that is, right? When you start learning something, you just learn how much it's like played a role on you. And then it just kind of makes you want to learn it more and more.
Yeah.
Did you ever experience that?
Yeah, absolutely. After I started learning it, probably like a month or two into it, because that's when like I had the motivation to do it on top of my drive. So it was like I was learning naturally at a higher clip.
Right.
So when I started looking around, I'd like look at a newspaper. I'm like, that's copywriting. I'd look at someone's post on Instagram. I'm like, that's copywriting, you know, stuff like that. And then also it's kind of crazy that like you can take someone's copywriting that was horrible and literally change like a sentence or two, or just move stuff around and like change it. And it goes from no hits to an overnight success. And you're like, okay, I know how to do this, but this person has no idea what they're talking about.
Right.
Like they don't understand it. So once you like get to that level, you're kind of like, whoa, I could help you out. Let me send you an email real quick. Be like, yo, change this around. They try it, it works. And then they're like, how'd you do that? You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, once you start learning it, everything, like it doesn't matter. Like there's like brands, like different brands, like this. You see it on your shirt, that's copywriting essentially. Because you had to come up with the design and be like, what's unique to Blessed Envision? And you made that logo. That logo is unique. Like it's your own personal brand. And that's a form of copywriting.
Exactly. Let's back up a little bit. Before copywriting, what were you doing? Are you in school? Are you playing basketball? What were you doing? What were you working?
Yeah, man, I was just doing basketball. I'm trying to get overseas. Like I that's what I wanted to do my whole life as a kid. But I've just been working my ass off at basketball, trying to get to the next level.
And you've been playing basketball since you were a kid, right?
Yep, since I was about 2.
How important was like sports for you and just like your general like development as like a person or a copywriter or anything?
It was huge. It made me grow up. You know, I went from being this little baby that was like, well, I don't want, like, this isn't working for me, to, okay, this isn't working. Why? I'm going to figure this out. Like, I'm going to make sure that I am constantly better than you at this. Yeah. And if I didn't have sports, I probably would have failed horribly.
100%. Exact same thing for me.
I think like sports is very, very important in just like the development of just people in general. Because like when you're playing sports is if you can't make a shot, that's on you. It's not on anybody else. It's not on the rim. If you can't make a shot, that's on you. So like, I think sports teaches so many like lessons that otherwise people wouldn't learn. Self-accountability is one of the big ones. A lot of it is also just discipline, right? You got to be on time. If you're not on time, coach is going to make you run a suicide. Hated suicides.
Oh my God, they're still the worst.
You said you're trying to play overseas, right? So what steps are you taking to like do that?
So I got a couple camps that I'm going to go to over the summer, Euro Pro. So I'm going to try that out. There's a couple in Maine. There's a couple down south. I'm just going to go to every single one I possibly can. I'm just trying to show that I am that guy and I should get paid to play this sport professionally.
Yeah.
But if not, I still got 2 years of college eligibility. So if those don't work out, I can still go back to college, and whether it's continue my education and play at a different division, because I potentially could play at a different division, which would be fire. But just keep working. And if I run out of college eligibility, I'm going to go to every single possible professional tryout. Just try it out and see what happens.
Yo, so how old are you?
I'm 23.
How did you only play 2 years of basketball?
So coming out of college,
because you did an extra year at Winch, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Winch and Prep. That was 2020.
Okay.
So 2021 season got canceled.
Okay.
And then 2022 I had a torn ACL.
Oh, that would do it.
So I had those 2 years to just work on my body, make sure I was right, and then I basically, when I was a junior in college educationally, I started my freshman season.
Okay. Yeah, that would make sense. So did you graduate?
I graduate this year.
You graduated, or you will?
I will graduate this year.
You will graduate in spring. Sweet. What's your major in?
It was architecture at my old school, but right now I'm doing business because they didn't have it.
Where'd you go before?
I went to Wentworth.
Oh, really? Yeah. Okay. Now you're at Anna Maria. Sweet.
It wasn't bad. It just wasn't a fit for me. You know
okay.
Yeah.
Got you.
Like, especially with COVID and everything. Like,
yeah. Did you live out there?
Yeah, I lived on campus. It was fire. But it just, the COVID classes, I thought that's how it was going to be forever. And I'm like, I can't do this.
COVID was awful. Especially like I did architecture too. So like trying to do that over COVID just didn't make any sense.
It was horrible. I was like, yo, what am I doing right now? Like, I'm trying to listen to a teacher that's on a computer, but they can't, like, because I'm a visual learner, but at the same time, I need hands-on stuff.
Yep.
So they're trying to teach you while I'm in, like, my dorm, and I'm just like, I have no idea what I'm doing right now, bro. Could you, like, show me? And they're like, yeah, and they're trying to show me, but they like can't do it from their house because they don't have any supplies. So I'm like, if this is how it's going to be for like a while, I can't do this, man.
Yeah.
I might as well go learn how to run my own business.
I remember over COVID, I had to take, what was it? I think it was chemistry. I had to take chemistry 1 over COVID, and they had us do it online labs. And it was the stupidest thing that I've ever done. It would just be like, here's 2 beakers. Put this beaker in the other beaker. I'm just like, yo, what?
Right? Like,
what am I doing?
What is the point of this? Like, I just never understood that stuff.
I know. COVID, dude. Can never forget it.
Yeah. Jumping back around, I want to talk about how you sell copywriting, because there's people that are going to say it's just words, and you just said it. Like, your whole job could just be moving a sentence. And do you know that story? I think it's like an old story of like the guy working on the ship or whatever, and the whole crew spends like days, and this one guy walks in and hits one nail into place and charges all that money because he knew how to hit that one nail.
Yeah.
Like, how do you sell that to people? Because I know I would be okay with it, but probably because I'm used to like that field, and Owalid too, we deal with that. But anybody else, how do you sell them on that?
So it's a little bit hard for some people because they want to take it personally. Because some people take it as, oh, you're telling me how to do my job, even though I've grown up in that field. And you're kind of like, all right, bro, like, you have to connect. That's where you have to connect with them on a deeper level for them to bring their guard down.
Yep.
And that's also where the free stuff comes in. Like, hey, just try it. Like, what is the worst that happens? You stay the same. And what's the best thing that happens? You learn that this is actually what was wrong, and this is what's going to build my company. So you have to show them on that level, hey, please just try it. If you don't want to, that's on you. I'll bring it to someone else. But if you want the chance that your company could grow exponentially because of what I produced for you, then what's the worst that happens? Because you're not getting charged for this, so just take a chance on it. And that's a big thing I've had to learn is you learn who you want to work with, because if they didn't want to take a chance on you, were they really worth working for?
Right.
Because you had to get taken a chance on. So if they're not willing to take a chance on you, what's the point? You know what I mean? So like, it's the people that take a chance that are like, okay, I can work with you because like we kind of connect on that level. Like, you took a chance on me, so and I'm taking a chance on you by reaching out to you. You know what I mean?
You just got to show it to them, and they'll buy it. And then how are you setting rates and things like that? Because I know what your rates kind of go for, and it's kind of insane. So
like, I was able to increase that over time. Like, at the beginning, it was really small. Like, hey, but now that I've built up my portfolio and my value internally has grown, then I'm kind of like, let's say, for example, like your cookies for some company you start, you're obviously going to start at $1. But if you grow into a multi-million-dollar business, are you still at the $1 value, or are you at a $10 value?
Right.
So like, it all depends on you personally. Like, if you think that your value is $10 on that cookie, then charge $10 on that cookie. Don't stay at $1. Don't keep yourself from growing internally. Yeah. And people will respect you because they're like, hey, they've worked their ass off. They've made this company into whatever it is. It is worth the $10. But at the beginning, if you're just like, man, this is worth $10, and they're looking at it like, no, really not, you know? Yeah. Like, it's worth $1, then that's where you have to like kind of self-reflect and be like, okay, I'm not really here yet, but I'm going to get to there. Yep. So like, my rates, they started really small, but I was like, I'm going to get to this price point where I can just charge this. Yep. And I had to work my ass off to get to there.
I think that's something that a lot of people that start a business don't understand, because when you start a business, you got to understand that when you start a business, you're selling your product, but you're also selling yourself and your reputation. So if you start off with a t-shirt company or a hoodie company, and then right off the bat, you're charging $1,000 for a hoodie, nobody's going to buy it because they're going to be like, I've never heard of this brand. They're not reputable. I can't understand the quality. But then like, if you make a hoodie and you say, oh, I'm going to sell it for $20, people can be like, all right, you know what? Like, I'm supporting somebody. He seems like a nice kid, whatever. I'll just buy it to support him. And then eventually they're going to be like, oh, this is a really nice hoodie. I would pay more for this, right? And then they're going to go show their friends. And their friends are going to be like, yo, you paid $20 for it? I would pay more for that. And then that's when you can kind of start building that reputation and charging more. And I think it relates to the same thing. I personally would like to say that's why like a lot of brands fail, because they don't take the time to learn the craft and build their reputation, because right off the bat, they're making something, then maybe it's good quality, maybe it's mid quality, but then right off the bat, they're charging like $60 for it. And it's like, okay, you're not going to be able to sell that because people don't know you yet. right?
Exactly. They're not willing to be vulnerable for a little bit. That's a big thing. Like in the copywriting field, I know a lot of kids they'll contact me now because they know that I've put my portfolio into the app. So like people reach out to me a lot and they're like, hey, what do you think of this? And I'm like, oh, that's actually really good. What'd you charge for it? You know, like what's your background? And they're like, oh, I just started like 3 days ago. I'm like, okay, so you're ahead of the curve. That's a good thing. What'd you charge for it? And they're like, oh, I reached out to this guy. I charged him like $1,000 for like this little ad. And I'm like, what is wrong with you? Like, what are you doing right now? Like, don't get me wrong. It is worth $1,000, but you have no credibility.
Yeah.
Right.
So he's going to look at you like you're crazy. Like maybe we'll do $100. So it's all those little things. And I like some people will listen to me and they're like, you know what? You're right. Like I probably should have like looked in the mirror and been like, I am nowhere near the people that charge $1,000.
Yeah.
So I got to be able to build to that level. Like you can't just jump off a cliff and be like, yo, I'm going to get to the other side. Then you need a bridge.
Right.
You need to slowly build that bridge and build that bridge till you get to the other side. And that's what some people don't understand.
And then credibility for you, what does that look like? Are you just able to show them the numbers and that kind of does the talking? Or what does success look like for the brands you're working with?
Yeah, so like some of them, whether it be social media, like sometimes I'll help internally grow their social media.
Okay.
And that's like
That's their success?
Yeah, I'll be like, hey, you know, like a month ago they were getting, I don't know, like 100 views, for example.
Yeah.
And now they're getting 2,000 views. So like you've seen that I've grown them exponentially in a matter of a very short period of time. That's also a big thing. Like if you can build it in a short period of time and be like, hey, I know my stuff works because this is a shorter period of time than who you're paying to do it for you. That's a big thing. But yeah, I would say that if you can build up the portfolio in different ways, like for some people, like this one guy I worked with in the very beginning, he was getting about 25 visits from local people to his website because they would just go into his shop. And I'm like, hey, let's fix this. And then he was starting to get 250 people on his website just naturally. Because you would see, we set up a software we could see the clicks. Like who's clicking on what, even if they didn't buy, who is like simply just looking at it. That's an important thing too. Because if you don't have the views, then you can't get as much profit. Yep. And then once we have the views, okay, now we can work on different things to actually get them to buy. But you need the views first.
Interesting. So as far as like the hunting and stuff that you're selling, those are things that people like more so want, right? Like those aren't things that people always need, right?
Essentially, yeah. You know, like obviously, if you want to go hunting during shotgun season, obviously you need a shotgun. You know what I mean? You can't just go out there with a rifle.
Right.
So some people want to figure out, okay, I don't have this, but I want to figure out what is the best one for me personally.
Yep.
So if you're a brand, you have to say, okay, I'm going to explain to you why this is the best personal shotgun to sell to someone. You know what I mean? Because they have like hundreds of different options, hundreds of different brands. So why buy that brand?
Yeah. Interesting.
So that'd be like warm prospective customers, I guess. Are you guys work with like cold where you're just trying to like get people into hunting?
Absolutely.
Because that's something that's probably harder to sell people on.
Oh, absolutely. Because some people believe that it's like a horrible thing.
Right.
But if you can post, like one thing I've really gotten into is like posting content. I personally don't post my own content right now.
Yeah.
I kind of stopped that because I was like, you know what? I'm not putting the best stuff out there. It kind of looks trash.
Yep.
So I was like, let me hold up on this and work on other people's stuff and make sure that their stuff is good. Cause like I'm paying too much attention to them to make sure my own stuff is good.
Yeah.
So I'm going to make sure that working on my own stuff doesn't take a hit on people I actually work for.
Right.
Yeah.
So I would make sure that their stuff is like perfect, but at the same time, I would kind of make it like comical because I was like, okay, we got to get these people to think of it in a different light.
Right.
So I'm going to put like this little comedy thing together and haha, you get a couple laughs out of it, but then they kind of like learn something at the same time. Like, oh, this really isn't that bad. Some like, cause you know, people have been hunting since the dawn of time.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, to survive. So it's like some people now don't really believe in it. So it's like, I want to show you that's not a bad thing. Like you're not a bad person for doing it.
Right.
But like this is why people do it, but I'm going to do it in a way where their guard comes down because they get a few laughs out of it too. And then they want to click on the website and they're like, oh, okay, you know, like what they sell isn't a bad thing. It's just this is how some people want to live.
Right. And so you're just trying to like break down the wall, especially around a sport. Like that's why I kind of said it in hunting is something that you're either in or you're out, but you need to like kind of turn that into a ramp and something and try to get people in.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and that's
interesting.
one of the biggest things. It was cool, but Another big thing is like retaining the people that are already in.
Right.
So as much as you want to focus on getting new people into it and like get new people in hunting, you also want to take care of the people that are already there.
Right.
Because those are always going to be your biggest, easiest sells. Like reselling to someone, if you can figure that out, it's easy. Because if you can get someone to buy from you like once a month, right? And let's say they buy one thing for $100 a month. Now, what happens if you get 1,000 people to just recurringly buy?
Right.
Now you're cooking with gas instead of electricity. So instead of constantly being like, we need new. Okay, what can I do for the valuable customer that has taken the time to take a chance on me? What can I do for them constantly too? So it's just those two factors coming in together and making them work evenly.
Got you.
It's huge. So I know you said like you're in the hunting niche and everything, but like what other types of businesses have you worked with? Have you worked with like other places before you started?
Yeah, I worked with this random belly dancing lady because no, it's really funny.
Right.
So I just wanted to see if I could do it.
Okay.
You know, so I was just like, you know what, let me pick a random niche. So I actually went on YouTube and found these different people that didn't have newsletters. So I was like, I reached out to her. I was like, hey, you know, like I see that you don't have a newsletter, but for your stuff, I feel like it could be essential because you have a lot of customers. And she was like, yeah, let's try it. I had no idea what I was talking about. So I went online for like 24 hours and I was like, let me figure out what the hell belly dancing is and how this stuff works. And then I created a newsletter for her and I gave it to her for free. I was like, try this, just see what happens. And we increased our profits by like 35%. And that was off something I had no idea what I was talking about. So once I figured that out, I was like, okay, let me try. Like, now they're not going to be recurring customers for me. Like, she's not a recurring customer. I just wanted to provide value and kind of prove to myself that I could outside of my comfort box. So now my box has kind of grown a little bit because I've worked with people that I have no idea what I'm talking about, but I'm going to figure out how I can help you. Yeah. Because that's the end of the thing. I want to see other people succeed. It's like not only myself. I don't want to just take your money. I want to help you grow and then take a little bit of a profit after you've succeeded.
Exactly.
Can you belly dance?
Hell no. God, no. I can watch those videos, though, and figure it out, though.
I pay to see that.
I wouldn't.
Anyway, so, like, obviously, you have a lot going on with basketball and copywriting and everything. How do you deal with, like, distractions?
I've kind of just come to terms with it where I'm like, you know what? I break it down to math. You got 24 hours in a day, right?
Right.
You need to sleep at least 6. Very minimum 6, preferably 8, but let's go with 6. You've got 18 hours left in the day. Now let's take practice. That's 2 hours. Now you got to eat, you got to do homework, and you got to go to class. Whatever that breaks down to, the X amount of hours you have left, work. Don't hop on the game. Don't go on social media and start scrolling and be like, oh, I'm going to like this picture. Oh, I'm going to comment on her post. I'm gonna talk shit about him on this post. Because that's where people go wrong. Like, once you just sit there and get on the scroll or get on the game, you're just wasting time that you could be sitting there, like, actually improving your life. You know what I mean? So, like, and you don't need to sit, like, if you have 5 hours left in the day, I'm not going to sit there and be like, I'm going to work 5 hours straight. No, I've worked myself up to, okay, I can do a deep work session for 90 minutes. And then once that 90 minutes is up, I know that I'm going to start to fizzle out. So I'm not going to keep working. I'm going to go take 20 minutes, chill with my friends, kind of see what they're doing, go take a walk, go put up some free throws, something to take my mind off of work. And then once that 20 minutes is up, bam, I'm right back to it in 90 minutes. Work, take a break, work, take a break. And now I am so far ahead of you because I'm willing to sit there and not only just not work, but at the same time be like, I'm done with the bullshit. Like, I'm just going to improve my life as much as I can when I have time.
Right. And then on another level, moving like away from day to day, you talked about how you spent 6 months learning everything before you were able to start turning it into money and working. Yeah. Then so now with the amount that you're working, how much of the time that you're working, so say it does 5 hours a day, how much of that is actually working for clients and how much that is learning? Because that's also part of your work. Yeah,
learning is huge, but I've kind of figured out, I've taken X amount of time and put it into, okay, I can send this to my employees and be like, hey, this isn't priority A right now. So like I have a B, C. A is it absolutely needs to get done. B is, okay, I'm going to get this done today, but it's not the main priority. And C is kind of like, word, if I get to it today, cool. If not, it might be B tomorrow. It could stay C. And then anything after that is delegated. I delegate it because I understand that my time of learning is more important than just doing a bunch of stuff that like won't really like seriously improve me that day.
Yep.
But if it is done by someone else, it's huge for me too. So like number one, my employees will get a lot of experience from doing that stuff, but it also saves me time. Like if I had 5 hours, I probably do 2.5, maybe 3 hours of work for my clients. And then the next 2.5 to 2 hours is straight podcasts, books. I love reading books now. I used to hate reading books, but once you learn certain books that you want to read, then it's a huge thing for you.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think books too that like kind of just help you understand the world, right? Like even if you're like learning from other people's mistakes and their failures as well. I think that's huge.
Exactly. Because if you're willing to read a book about this guy, let's say he's a billionaire, and then like the first 30 chapters of 32, he talks about, I tried all this stuff and I failed like 1,000,000 times. And then I was right once and now I am where I am. And you're kind of like, whoa, you didn't just like happen to fall on this. Like you actually like worked. That's insane.
Yeah.
Like, but now you're willing to be accountable and be like, yeah, I fucked up, but now I'm going to keep trying and trying and trying.
Right.
And they didn't stop, and that's the difference.
Because people could tell you that, and even you can like say you know it, but you got to just keep reinforcing that too, and keep seeing other people. Exactly. That's why it's important too to surround yourself with people that are like you, because it's the same thing.
No, that's huge. If you have people around you that like don't want it as bad as you, then naturally you're gonna want it less and less and less. Because it's like, why don't you want it as much as me? But if you get people around you like you guys, like I like working with you guys because I know that you're willing to go balls to the wall and just be like, we're gonna figure this out or we're gonna fail trying. You know what I mean?
Basically.
So that's the huge thing.
Exactly. And then what do your ABCs usually look like? So what are you getting rid of, and then what are you keeping? Like, are you keeping client calls? Are you keeping certain parts of copywriting? Are you?
Yeah. So like if I have a call with a big client, priority A.
Okay.
If a big client wants me to do work for them, I see what it is. And then like, if it's something minor, like, hey, let's work on this newsletter. It's not doing the production I want it to do. That might go to the B category.
Okay.
But then like little stuff where they're like, hey, can you tweak this website? That's something I can put in C or delegate it and be like, you know what? Billy, my employee, could benefit from working on this touch up. So let me delegate it to him. Or it's like, okay, I've given Billy and John enough work to do for the day. Like they're loaded. Let me put it in C, and if I get to it personally, cool. If not, they can do it tomorrow.
Okay, got it.
But if I get to it, cool. But like different stuff like that. Like calls obviously are A. Those are huge because if I miss those, I lose money.
Right.
But and then the work after that is just determined by like how important is that work? Because like at the beginning, I was just like, you know what? Let me just do everything at once. And I was like, this is not working. this is not working. So then once you figure out how to break it down, then your life gets easier.
That makes sense.
What's been like one of like the craziest, like strangest things that's happened to you within the last year, like while working with these people?
So one of my employees, I'm not going to mention him, thought it was a good idea to show up to a huge meeting in a sweatsuit. So I had to kind of fake it. I was like, he like works in boxing and stuff like that, so that's why he's in a sweatsuit. And I was kind of like, yeah, I'm not very happy with you right now. But I had to kind of like react on the fly and figure out how to get these people to not look at him like a loser and kind of be like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Like he was in a rush and stuff like that. Obviously, he got in trouble after. I was kind of like, bro, what are you doing? But it was like that quick instinct thing where I was like, I need this. And I really need this bad, so let me figure out anything I possibly can to save myself from them going, get out of my office. You know what I mean? And they kind of took it. I had to take it to a whole nother level of like communication. Like, this is why, this stuff happens. And they literally looked me in the face. They're like, it happens. Okay, let's just keep going with it. And I was like,
what was everyone else wearing?
I had on a suit and tie. I had on my dress pants, and I looked at him and I was like, what are you doing right now, bro?
If it was a Blessed Envision sweatsuit, it wouldn't have been a problem.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been a problem.
It wouldn't have been a problem.
Like, it's, he had like the Nike sweats. I'm like, bro, what are you doing here? I told you to show up and dress nice.
Are these people that you know in person? Or you meet them for...
A couple of them I've met in person. A couple of them I've talked over the phone, but we've talked so much that I can like kind of see through them and be like, okay, he's telling the truth. Or I've had people where I'm like, you have no idea what you're talking about and you have no drive.
Yeah.
Click, end this call. Get out of my face.
Interesting. Is that like a lot of like your current job description? Because I know like with employees too, sometimes they can help you, but sometimes they just do more harm than good, because like maybe they do something that like they think is good, but then you look at it and you're like, this is not what I wanted. And then you have to go back and do it again. And then it's like, it kind of wastes your time more because you had to first explain to them what to do. They did it incorrectly, and then you're like, all right, now I have to do it again. So like, have you dealt with that as well?
Absolutely. You know, you deal with that. I actually deal with that on a day-to-day basis. Like, I was in here with you guys, and I told one of my guys, I was like, hey, don't call me for the next couple hours. And then in a couple minutes, I had someone call me and be like, what am I doing? And I was just like, bro, I said a couple hours, not a couple minutes, bro. So it's kind of like you have to deal with that stuff day to day, you know, sometimes hour to hour, minute to minute. But it's kind of like, okay, I have to, again, I look in the mirror and I'm kind of like, I did something wrong because I didn't put him in a position to go, okay, I'm going to think this through. Like, what did Joe teach me? Like, what did he teach me to deal with the situation? So sometimes like when I have to deal with an employee with that, I'll get pissed. But at the end of the day, I'll be like, all right, what did I do wrong? Like, did I not teach him enough to be able to withstand this and do it on his own? Because I want all my guys to be able to internally grow and work on their own stuff, because I ultimately don't want them to just like work for me forever. Like if you want to go start your own thing, bro, go. I'll encourage you. I'll write you recommendation letters. Like if you want to start your own thing, like go for it. Like even if you got me a client and you want to take him with you, go right ahead. You know, you earned that right because you got him yourself. You did it 100% yourself.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I deal with a couple bad issues on a day-to-day basis.
So how do you operate? So like for us, we obviously operate as a brand. And then for you, do you operate as like Joe Novelli, like as a private contractor? And then what's the advantage to you having a team and growing rather than just saying, all right, I'm done and holding your 10?
I work under Novelli content creation. I don't just work under Joe Novelli. So basically they can reach out to me via Instagram, or you can find my email. It's pretty easy. And once these people, because now people are reaching out to me for work. I've done the work of I'm going to reach out to you, but now that I've like gotten to a level, people are like, hey, I want to find out who this kid is, because you know what he's just doing. Okay. So once they reach out to me, then it like now I'm at an easy.
Now you're starting to like build the actual brand side of the business. Okay, cool. What's your goal, like long run with it?
I mean, I'm just looking at it from a competitive standpoint. You know, I just want to like take a look at it and be like, I want to just be the best at what I do. And then once I am the best at what I do, I want to make sure that the gap between me and second place is so far that no one can catch up to me.
It's a big goal. It's a big goal.
You know, I'm climbing the ladder steady by steady, day by day. But it's like such a big goal that like it's going to take me a long time to actually achieve it. So I will constantly have something driving me to get where I want to be.
I think that's the thing too, just going back to what you said about like people reaching out to you. We get a lot of that now too. And like, it's like kind of at a point where like, all right, like we don't know if we can do this right now. We kind of have to like push people back, because we get a lot of people reaching out to us being like, hey, I saw like the clothing you guys did with X, Y, and Z. I have this brand and I want to get something made. And it's just like, all right, like we appreciate you reaching out, but like we don't know like when we can get to it. And it's also like kind of difficult. Like, have you had to like turn down clients because you just had too much work and things to do?
Yeah, you know, I'll give them an option. I'll be like, hey, right now you're looking at like your option 10, like, because I've got all these things in front of you. But if you really need this done and you give me a premium, I'll actually do it for you. But if you're not willing to give me that premium, I'm sorry, you got to be on the back burner or go find someone else. I'll recommend someone to you, you know, because like I also have different copywriters that are working that don't necessarily work for me, but I'm like, hey, you know, I can't get to your stuff, but I know that this guy over here, he's really good at what he does. He's not on my level, respectfully, but he will do a great job for you if you're not willing to wait or pay to be pushed to the front of the line.
Yeah.
So you're more often saying no than trying to find a way to fill it on your side?
Oh, absolutely.
Like with a new position?
Like if my employees are like, look, you've given me so much work today, I don't know what to do, then I'm kind of like, damn, I really want to get this guy, but I know I can't. So I'm not going to sit there and just say yes to everybody. I'm going to be like, okay, look, and you just got to tell them the truth. As long as you tell them the truth, they'll respect you more than you being like, yeah, I'll get to it. And then you never get to it.
Yep.
So then if you just go, hey, here's the facts, here's what's up, this is what I have 3 options. You can either be delegated to one of my guys. If they can't do it, I can recommend you to someone, or you pay me a premium and I'll do it for you right here, right now. Because my time is valuable.
Exactly.
But if you're willing to pay for that value, go ahead, I'll do it.
It's a good way to look at it, honestly.
Interesting. So the way we end our shows typically is we'll just say one thing that we're blessed with and then one thing that we're envisioning for the future. I always start, but you can start today.
Oh, I'm starting today? All right.
Yeah.
One thing I'm blessed with is honestly a lot of work going on right now with the brand, doing a lot of cool stuff for myself, things like that, classes, all that stuff's going good. We're rolling in through the semester. And one thing I'm envisioning is working on a movie right now. So I've been working on everything to get that filming this summer. So that'll be fun.
One thing that I'm blessed with is I just got a new job and I like it, so I'm blessed to have that. What I'm envisioning for the future is a lot of things, with obviously a lot of things with the brand, but like I think I'm kind of in a position now where I could really just start focusing on like all the other things that I like didn't have time to focus on before. So just envisioning achieving my goals. So
I mean, one thing I'm blessed with is obviously the health of my family, my brother, everything like that. And obviously, the success I've had in a short period of time. But one thing I envision is I might have the top 10 now for my archery and firearm niches, but I want to get to the top 25. Like I want to take over the top 25 in both.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Wow. Awesome. All right. Well, appreciate you having you.
Yeah, man. I appreciate
On
you
episode
coming
10 of the podcast, actually. I
10?
think. Might be 9. Whatever it is.
I'll lost count.
Cool. Anything else?
I think we're good. Like, subscribe, go on blessedvision.com, buy something. Thanks, guys.
Appreciate you.
Bye.
Peace.